Welcome to this deep dive. We're going to be exploring Jim Collins' work,
Oh, cool.
specifically his insights on building companies that can, well, last.
Right, companies that stand the test of time.
Exactly. We'll be using excerpts from the 2020 edition of Beyond Entrepreneurship.
By Collins and William Lazier.
Right. And our mission here is to uncover those kind of like timeless principles, the nuggets of wisdom that help you build a company that doesn't just succeed, but thrives.
Yeah, for the long haul.
For the long haul, exactly. We're going to figure out what makes great companies tick,
What really makes them tick.
what really makes them tick, yeah. So, to get us started, what are some of the things?
So one of the most interesting things that Jim Collins' research consistently shows is that the foundation of any truly great company is its people.
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 Really? I would have thought it was some like brilliant new product idea or maybe like a killer marketing strategy.
Oh, those things are definitely important, of course.
Yeah.
But Collins, he consistently finds
Right.
that it's the people who make the real difference.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and he actually tells this great story about Steve Jobs returning to Apple in the 90s.
Right.
And you know what Jobs told Collins?
With that.
His first priority wasn't diving into product development. It was finding the right
Right.
people.
The one.
Ones who still believed in Apple's core values, even after all the turmoil.
Wow. Even after all that.
Even after all that, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It is.
So he was basically searching for those people, the ones who had that fire in their belly.
Exactly. The ones who still embodied the company's soul, even when things were tough.
So what can we learn from this?
Well, I think it's a powerful reminder
Yeah.
that when you're building a team, you got to look beyond just skills and experience.
So it's not just about what's on their resume.
Right. Okay.
You need to find people who actually connect.
With your company's purpose.
So they got to believe in what you're doing.
Deeply, at a fundamental level.
It's like finding those puzzle pieces that fit perfectly.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of shape, but also in terms of the picture they create.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks. And this kind of makes me think about Collins's concept of level 5 leadership.
Oh, yeah. From his book, Good to Great.
Exactly. How does that fit into this whole people thing?
Well, level 5 leaders, they're really fascinating.
Okay.
They're incredibly ambitious, but their ambition is all directed toward the company's success.
Not their own.
Not their own personal gain, no. They're driven by this deep sense of purpose and a desire to build something that lasts.
Something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. Something bigger than themselves.
So they're not necessarily those like stereotypical CEOs we see.
Right. Not the loud, charismatic.
The ones always on magazine covers.
Not always.
That's good to know. So give me an example then.
Well, think about Wendy Kopp,
Wendy Kopp.
the founder of Teach for America.
Okay, yeah.
She wasn't a super charismatic personality.
Really?
Yeah, she was actually quite reserved.
But she still built this amazing organization.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
Because her ambition wasn't about her.
Right.
It was about solving a huge problem.
Making a real difference.
Yeah, making a difference in the world.
Okay, so, what's the takeaway here?
Well, I think it tells us
Yeah.
that building enduring greatness isn't just about finding these selfless leaders. It's about cultivating that type of leadership in ourselves and in others.
So we all got to step up our game.
Yeah, and it starts by asking ourselves, where is our ambition directed?
Where is it directed?
Are we focused on building something bigger?
Bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. Or are we just, chasing personal gain?
That's a good question to ask ourselves.
It is.
So it's about shifting that perspective, putting the company's needs first.
That's a crucial step toward level 5 leadership.
Okay, so we've got the people part down. What about strategy?
Strategy.
You mentioned that Collins is all about taking calculated risks.
He is.
And I'm really interested in that bullets and cannonballs analogy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Can you explain that?
Imagine you're trying to take down a fortress, right?
Okay.
You wouldn't just fire your biggest cannonball right away.
No, I guess not.
You'd want to test the defenses first, see where the weak spots are.
Right. You don't want to waste your best weapon
Exactly.
on a shot that might completely miss.
And that's where the bullets come in.
Okay.
Collins suggests that before making those big company-defining decisions,
The big ones.
the cannonball bets,
Right.
you got to fire off some bullets first.
Bullets.
These are like smaller strategic experiments
I see.
that help you test your assumptions and validate your ideas
Before you go all in.
before you commit too much.
So what might those bullets look like?
Well, they can take a lot of forms.
Give me some examples.
Think like pilot programs,
Okay, pilot programs.
prototypes, small-scale market tests, anything that gets you data
Data, yeah.
before committing tons of resources.
So you can refine your approach.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do we know when it's time to move from the bullets to that cannonball?
Well, it's about finding a balance, right?
Right.
You want to gather enough information to be confident,
Yeah.
but you don't want to get stuck in endless experimentation.
So it's like finding that sweet spot, being
Exactly.
thorough but also agile.
Precisely.
And the beauty is this principle works even if you're not a huge company.
Right, even if you don't have Intel's budget.
Exactly. So even small businesses and startups can benefit from this.
Absolutely.
Now, one thing we know for sure
That's that.
is that the business world, it's unpredictable.
Oh, yeah, constantly changing.
So how do we navigate all the chaos and disruption? I'm guessing this is where the 20-mile march comes in.
You're on the right track.
Okay, good.
The 20-mile march is this idea from Colin's book, Great by Choice.
I've heard of that one.
It's all about maintaining progress,
Even when things are crazy.
especially when things are crazy.
Okay.
It's about setting a realistic pace and sticking to it no matter what obstacles come up.
So it's less about sprinting ahead
Yeah.
and more about steady progress over time.
Like the tortoise and the hare, right?
Exactly.
The key is to set a benchmark and hit that mark consistently.
Every time.
Collins actually gives examples of companies that did this for over 40 years.
40 years. Wow. So they didn't let anything throw them off course.
Nope, not market fluctuations, not economic downturns, nothing.
That's incredible.
It is, and it brings us to a question for you,
For me.
our listener. What's your 20-mile march?
Ooh, that's a good one.
What consistent action will move you towards your goals no matter what's happening around you?
That's a really powerful question.
It is.
And one that I think our listeners should really take some time to think about.
Absolutely.
But before we go too far,
Yeah.
I'm curious about this idea of consistent progress within the context of, well, business growth.
Ah,
Because companies go through different phases, don't they?
they do.
There are natural ebbs and flows.
For sure.
So how can we understand those different phases?
That's a great question.
Is this where the S-curve comes in?
The S-curve, you got it.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Well, the S-curve is a way of looking at a company's life cycle,
Right.
from its emergence to rapid growth to maturity and eventually decline.
Wow, so the whole journey.
The whole journey.
And each stage has its own unique challenges.
Absolutely.
So can you break down those stages for us?
Yeah, I can do that, but I think it's time for a quick break first.
Oh, all right.
We'll dive into the S-curve when we come back.
Sounds good. We'll be right back. All right, so we're back and ready to unpack this S-curve thing.
Yeah, the S-curve.
It sounds like it could be really helpful
It is, yeah.
for understanding where you are in the business life cycle
Exactly.
and what kind of challenges might be coming up. So break it down for me.
Okay, so picture a curve.
Right.
It starts gradually, then shoots upward, and eventually flattens out again.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
That's the S-curve.
The S-curve, I get it.
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways for each stage?
Okay, so at the very beginning, you have the emergence phase.
Emergence, okay.
This is where you're just starting out,
Figuring things out.
Exactly. You're experimenting, maybe working from a small office or even your garage.
Right, the early days.
Exactly. Growth is slow and steady.
It's about building that foundation.
Finding those first customers.
Improving your concept.
Yeah, like planting a seed and nurturing those first sprouts.
I like that analogy.
Oh, thanks.
So then what?
Well, if things go well,
Fingers crossed.
you hit the rapid growth phase.
This is where the curve shoots upward.
That's it. Demand takes off. You're hiring new people, expanding operations.
Exciting times?
It is exciting, but it can also be overwhelming.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The key here is to scale effectively.
But not lose sight of the big picture.
Right, your core values and long-term vision.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype.
It is, and make decisions that might hurt you later on.
Short-term gain for long-term pain.
Exactly.
So balance is key.
Balance is key. You got it.
All right, so what comes after the rapid growth phase?
Well, things start to, level out.
Yeah.
You enter the maturity phase.
Maturity, okay.
Growth slows down as the market matures, competition increases.
So the curve flattens out.
Exactly. You reach a point of saturation.
Does that mean it's all over?
No, not at all.
Good.
This phase is about innovation, finding new ways to grow.
Because you can't just keep doing the same old thing.
Right. You got to adapt to changing customer needs.
Keep things fresh.
Exactly. And differentiate yourself from the competition.
Stay ahead of the game.
Right. And this is also a good time to focus on efficiency.
Making sure everything is running smoothly.
As lean and effective as possible.
So it's a time for strategic thinking. Not just riding that initial wave of growth.
Precisely.
But even successful companies can get complacent, right?
Unfortunately, they do.
They get comfortable, stop pushing the boundaries.
They do, and that's when they become vulnerable.
And that's when the decline phase sets in.
The dreaded decline phase.
The curve starts heading down.
Yep, and that's why it's so important
Yeah.
to maintain what Collins calls productive paranoia.
Wait, haven't we talked about that already?
We have, but it's worth repeating.
Okay, why is that?
Because it's so important. It's about always asking, what if?
What if? What if?
What if our biggest competitor comes out with something new?
Oh, I see.
What if technology suddenly changes everything?
And we're left behind.
Exactly.
So we got to stay ahead of the curve, literally.
Literally and figuratively.
But how do we actually do that? Productive paranoia sounds a little, well, intense.
It's not about being paralyzed by fear.
Okay, good.
It's about channeling that awareness into action.
So be prepared, but don't freak out.
Exactly.
So balance again.
Always balance.
All right, so we've talked about staying ahead of the curve. But what about those core values?
Yes, the core values.
How do those fit into this whole S-curve journey?
Well, they're essential throughout the entire journey.
From start to finish.
From emergence to maturity and beyond.
Even in decline.
Especially in decline.
How so?
Because your core values,
Yeah.
they're what help you weather the storms.
They keep you grounded.
They keep you grounded, exactly.
So they're like an anchor?
They are. They provide stability.
Even when the seas are rough.
Precisely.
Okay, I'm starting to see how important they really are.
They're crucial.
And this actually reminds me of another one of Collins' concepts.
Oh, which one?
Preserve the core, stimulate progress.
Yes, that's a big one.
So how do we do both?
Well, it starts by understanding the difference between core values and core ideology.
Core values and core ideology, got it.
Your core values, those are your fundamental beliefs.
The non-negotiables.
Exactly, the things that should never be compromised.
Like integrity.
Integrity, yes.
Customer focus.
Yeah.
Innovation.
Exactly.
Teamwork.
All the good stuff.
The bedrock of the company.
The bedrock, yeah.
So those are set in stone.
Pretty much, yeah.
What about core ideology?
Core ideology, that's a bit more fluid.
Okay.
It encompasses your purpose, your reason for being.
Your why.
Your why, exactly. And that can evolve over time.
As the company grows.
Right, as the world changes.
But it's about staying true to your why, but adapting your how.
You got it.
But how do we know when it's time to change that core ideology?
Well, you got to pay attention to the market.
Okay.
Listen to your customers.
Always listening.
And be willing to challenge your own assumptions.
That can be tough.
It can be, but it's necessary.
So it's about being open to evolution.
Exactly.
Even when it comes to the heart of the business.
Absolutely.
And that takes humility, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Admitting you don't have all the answers.
Being willing to learn and adapt.
And embracing failure along the way.
Oh, yeah. Failure is a big part of it.
Most people try to avoid failure.
Of course, it's natural.
But Collins actually sees it as a tool for growth.
He does. He calls it productive failure.
Productive failure. That's an interesting way to look at it.
It is. It's all about experimentation, learning, and adaptation.
So it's a cycle.
A cycle, yeah.
You try something, it doesn't work, you learn from it.
And then you try again.
You can't be afraid to take risks.
Exactly. You got to push boundaries, even if you stumble sometimes.
But that takes a certain kind of environment, right?
It does, yeah. One where people feel safe to experiment.
Where failure isn't punished.
Exactly. Where it's seen as a learning opportunity.
And how do we create that kind of environment?
Well, it starts with leadership.
Okay.
Leaders have to model that behavior.
Lead by example.
Right. They got to be willing to take risks themselves.
And admit when they make mistakes.
Absolutely. Transparency is key.
So it's about creating a culture of psychological safety.
Psychological safety.
Where it's okay to mess up.
As long as you learn from it.
And this ties back to the bullets and cannonballs idea, right?
It does, yeah.
Those small experiments help us learn and reduce risk.
Before we make those big bets.
So we can fail small.
Exactly. Fail small and learn big.
Love that.
Yeah.
But even with the best ideas, even with a great team and a solid plan, execution is key.
Execution is everything.
You can have a brilliant vision, but if you can't execute,
It's all for nothing.
It's all for nothing. Exactly.
And that's what separates the dreamers from the doers.
The ones who make it happen.
The builders, the ones who get things done.
And that's where discipline comes in.
Discipline and consistency.
It's less about those big aha moments.
Yeah.
More about those consistent daily actions.
The relentless pursuit of excellence.
And that takes stamina, doesn't it?
It does. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
So how do we maintain that focus over the long haul?
Well, Collins has a few ideas.
I'm all ears.
One of them is called SMAC.
Smack.
Yeah, it stands for specific, methodical, and consistent.
I like it. It's catchy.
It is. And it's about developing a clear set of operating principles.
A recipe for success.
Exactly. A recipe that's tailored to your company.
So it's not about copying someone else.
No, it's about figuring out what works for you.
For your team, your industry.
Your specific context, yeah.
And once you have that recipe, you stick to it.
You stick to it religiously.
Like those surgeons who count every instrument.
Ah, yes. A great example.
They have a process, and they follow it every single time.
Because lives are at stake.
Exactly. And in business, the stakes might be different.
But they're still high.
The company's success, the team's well-being.
Your impact on the world.
It's all connected.
It is.
So consistency is key.
Consistency is key. You got it.
But we can't forget about the people.
Ah, never forget about the people.
They're the ones who make it all happen.
Absolutely. They're the heart and soul of the company.
And this is where empowerment comes in, right?
Empowerment and ownership, yeah.
Giving people the tools they need to excel.
Trusting them to do their best work.
Because even with the best systems.
It's the people who bring them to life.
Exactly. And this makes me think about something else Collins talks about.
What's that?
Return on luck.
Ah, yes, return on luck.
That's a new one for me.
It's a fascinating concept.
Tell me more.
Well, Collins found that luck definitely plays a role in success.
We all need a little luck.
We do, but it's what you do with that luck that matters.
So it's not just about being lucky.
It's about maximizing the return on your lucky breaks.
I like that. Maximizing the return.
Exactly.
So how do we do that?
Well, it involves a few things.
Okay.
First, you got to recognize when you've been lucky.
Sometimes that's hard to see.
It can be, yeah.
Okay, so recognize the luck.
Then you got to seize the opportunity.
Don't hesitate.
Don't hesitate. Take action.
And
And then you turn that lucky break into something bigger.
something sustainable.
Something lasting, yeah.
So it's about being prepared to capitalize on those unexpected moments.
Exactly, those twists and turns that life throws at you.
But how do we cultivate that mindset?
Well, it's funny you should ask.
Why is that?
Because it goes back to productive paranoia.
Productive paranoia again.
It's a recurring theme.
It seems to be.
And it makes sense, right?
Explain it to me.
Productive paranoia isn't just about anticipating threats. It's also about being ready to seize opportunities.
Even the unexpected ones.
Especially the unexpected ones.
So it's about staying alert,
Yes.
being aware of both the risks and the rewards?
The risks and the rewards, exactly.
Okay, I think I'm getting it.
Good. It's also about being humble.
Humble?
Yeah, recognizing that not all success is due to our own brilliance.
Sometimes it's just luck,
Sometimes it's just being in the right place at the right time.
but it's what we do with that luck that counts.
Exactly. Our choices determine whether it's a fleeting moment.
Or a launch pad for something amazing.
That's the power of return on luck.
Powerful indeed.
So, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Yeah.
I want to leave you with a thought from Collins.
Okay.
He says, the purpose of building a great company isn't just to make money.
There's got to be more to it than that.
There is. It's about creating something that lasts.
Something meaningful.
Something that makes a positive impact.
Something to be proud of.
Exactly. So, what will your legacy be?
That's a great question.
It is. Think about it.
What kind of impact do you want to make?
What do you want to be remembered for?
Those are powerful questions to ponder as we head into the final part of our deep dive.
We'll be exploring even more of Collins' insights.
Join us as we delve into the nuances of innovation, execution, and the power of values.
This could be good.
See you soon. Welcome back. We're diving into the final part of our deep dive on building enduring greatness.
Yeah, the final stretch.
We've talked about people, vision, strategy, execution.
All the important stuff.
But there's one more essential element we need to unpack.
What's that?
Values.
Values. Yes.
It's something that's often overlooked.
People think it's just fluffy stuff.
Exactly. But Collins makes it clear
He does.
that values are the bedrock
The foundation.
of any company that wants to last.
Yeah, any company that wants to make a real impact.
I'm starting to see that
Good.
values might actually be the secret weapon.
They could be, yeah.
But it's not enough to just have them written down somewhere.
Right, you got to actually live them.
Walk the talk.
Exactly. Embed those values into the DNA of your organization.
So make those tough decisions, even when they're unpopular.
But they align with your values.
Exactly. And that sets an example for the team.
It does, yeah.
Shows them that values aren't just empty words.
They're the guiding principles.
The real deal.
The real deal, yeah.
And this makes me think of that story about Jim Collins.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The one where he's supposed to give a keynote speech.
Right. But
there's a hurricane.
Hurricane Wilma, was it?
Hurricane Wilma, that's the one.
A powerful story.
It is. About commitment.
And integrity.
He made a promise. And despite the hurricane,
He found a way to honor it.
he went above and beyond.
He did.
That's what I call leading by example.
Absolutely.
It's not just saying the right things,
It's about doing them.
even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard.
And this applies to everyone,
Right. Everyone in the organization. Yeah.
from the top down.
The CEO to the intern.
Everyone needs to be on board.
On the same page, yeah.
When it comes to values,
Values drive the culture.
the culture, exactly. And that brings us back to clock building, not time telling.
Yes, another great concept.
It's about building a company that doesn't rely on one charismatic leader.
Because they don't always stick around.
Exactly.
So you got to embed those values
Yeah.
into the system itself.
Make them self-perpetuating.
So even when that leader is gone,
The company keeps thriving.
thriving, yeah, like a well-oiled machine.
It's like removing the keystone from an arch.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
The whole thing can crumble
It can, yeah.
without that essential piece.
And values are that keystone.
The glue that holds it all together,
They keep the company strong.
even as things change,
As leaders change, as markets change.
as the world changes.
Exactly.
Wow, this has been an incredible journey
It has, hasn't it?
into the world of Jim Collins.
His insights are so valuable.
They are. We've learned so much
About building enduring greatness.
about the power of people,
Vision, strategy,
execution, discipline,
and of course, values.
values.
I can't forget those.
But I think the biggest takeaway for me
What's that?
is that building a great company,
Yeah,
it's not just about making money.
right. It's about more than that.
It's about creating something that matters,
Something that makes a difference.
something that lasts.
Something to be proud of.
Exactly. And I think that's something we can all aspire to.
We can.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah?
we want to encourage you, our listeners,
Mm-hmm.
to keep exploring these ideas
To apply them to your own lives.
to your businesses, to your careers.
To your everyday life.
Never stop learning.
And never stop growing.
And remember,
Remember what?
building enduring greatness.
Yeah.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a journey.
A journey, exactly.
So pace yourself.
Be patient.
And stay true to your values.
Your vision, your commitment.
to building something truly extraordinary.
And as we leave you today,
Yeah.
remember that question we asked?
The one about legacy.
What will your legacy be?
What do you want to be remembered for?
Think about it.
It's worth considering.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be back soon with more fascinating ideas.
More groundbreaking insights.
Until then, keep building.
Yeah.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Better Every Day. We hope you found some actionable insights to help you on your self-improvement journey. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on future deep dives. And if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, small steps every day lead to big changes. See you next time.